Hey everyone, welcome to my first YouTube video in quite some time. I thought it might be kind of fun to bring you along on a little painting vlog and a vlog about my most recent photo shoot. So let's get started. Part of this painting is me playing a little bit of catch up from being on a little bit of a hiatus this year. I had to move right around the end of February, and I underestimated the intense time that it would be trying to move an entire art studio and get set back up and stay on top of Patreon and orders, as well as going to my regular job. And that doesn't even include the amount of work that had to be done in the house to move into it or that needed done after we moved in. So trying to juggle all of those things at once was overwhelming is not the right word, because it was like happy pressure, but at the same time not. And unfortunately my art kind of suffered because of that. Originally this was supposed to be done in April, and I had a lot of high hopes for myself, but unfortunately that did not occur. So here is our little 420 frog getting worked on today. I've felt a lot of pressure this year to continue creating, and I think a lot of that stems from the fact that I think we all have these like ideal situations in our head where we would like to find ourselves. And I always told myself that once I moved into a house, X, Y, or Z was going to happen, and I would be able to do whatever it was that I thought that having a house was going to allow me to do, when in reality, after we bought the house, there was so much more that we needed to take care of, and I knew that the responsibility of being a homeowner was going to be an intense one, but it also required me in the beginning to make a lot of sacrifices, and I really hate that creating was one of those, and not only that, posting became one of those, because I just felt weird about sharing that success with people when so many people my age are having trouble just affording rent, when in reality the reason we bought the house is because, well, it was actually cheaper to buy in my area than it is to continue renting. And I didn't want to seem rude about being like, oh yay, we got the house, look at all this art I'm creating. So I guess in some ways me not posting had a little bit to do with me feeling kind of bashful about us getting the house. It's actually taken me until now, so about 6 months, to get my studio completely set back up and feel like it truly is a space that I can embrace and feel comfortable creating in. Despite not posting very much this summer, I have actually been creating a lot behind the scenes, and I feel kind of guilty for not sharing that with some of you, but I really wanted to wait until I was absolutely certain that I knew the direction that I was going to begin to take with my work. I've struggled for a long time to find which direction I really wanted to go with what I was creating, because I'm capable of creating anything, and I've proven that to myself time and time again. But I think what I wanted most of all was to figure out what exactly my goal was for my art. And I spent a lot of time contemplating that while I was working with my hands doing other things throughout the spring and summer. I think it was actually around July when I finally came to the realization that I had to stop pigeonholing myself and trying to kind of squeeze myself down into these different categories of creativity. I had to just let go, and I had to just create. But more important than that, I realized that I needed to start taking my audience along on this journey with me and stop being so afraid to be myself and give you guys the authentic experience of what it's like for me as a creative to move through my creative process. And I thought to myself, what better way to do that than to start doing actual vlogs? And here in just a couple of seconds, I actually have a small collection of clips from my most recent photo shoot. pictures of some of my new clothes today. Well, we are out at the park and we are also having a picnic. So hopefully he'll cooperate with me because he's not very good at being the Instagram husband or boyfriend. Hopefully all these turn out. I'll see you soon. It might be in the regular video.
Really?
It might.
Oh no, earthquake! Woo!
That's not fair.
That's not.
I feel like showcasing that here in the middle of this really kind of is the bookend to my point about how multifaceted my creativity truly is, and it's not possible for myself to just nail down one specific thing that I want to do. I do want to make clothes, I want to keep doing digital art, I want to keep doing watercolors. I really want to do a little bit of everything, and I think that to bring everybody along for that journey, I am going to have to start doing more videos like this. It's definitely going to be one of those things where like I'm kind of conquering a fear as I'm going along doing it, but to be honest, I've actually had a lot of fun putting this video together, and I am looking forward to doing it again in the future. I'm sure some of you might be curious as to what inspired me to make this little frog, and as I mentioned earlier in the video, he was actually drawn earlier in the year around 420, and I have a deep appreciation for cannabis as a whole, but specifically the cultivation of, I love growing plants, but cannabis has a really special place in my heart, and I know there are a lot of pests that you can have in a grow area, but I was like, I wonder what like the ultimate unpest would be. Like, you walk over to your plants and you see this dude just kind of hanging out, and you just like know that your plants are so blessed because he's there. So I guess you could kind of think of him as like a plant fae in some type of situations. He is the blesser of plants and the bringer of vitality and health to things that are growing. A lot of my inspiration today still comes from the things that I absorbed as a child. Before I could even read, I was being read like Norse and Greek mythology. And as I got older and I could pick up my own books, I was still seeking out things that had vivid illustrations, sometimes encyclopedias or even art books. And although I really, really love scientific illustration, I am just too whimsical to get that serious about anatomy and correctness, and oftentimes my brain still wants to veer off in those directions. And then I remember that I am still very technicolor, I am still very psychedelic, I'm still very silly, and once again, I must not limit myself into these specific spaces and just kind of let my imagination wander and come up with really silly things like this little guy. I think one of my favorite parts of any painting that I work on is always going to be those fine details at the very end. I don't know why, I've just always had an obsession for things like this. Like back in the day when I was just a little kid, for me it was like inking with ballpoint pens and different pressures that you could use to achieve the different lines. And now, as an adult who is using some pretty awesome supplies, it's always this like white ink for me. I don't know why that just does it for me, but it definitely does. I know a couple of people have also asked me why I favor watercolors so much as my primary medium, and that is also because of some really bright and lovely childhood memories that I have. Watercolors were actually one of the first mediums that I began using from a very young age. I think I was about 6 years old the first time I was introduced to a student palette of watercolors, and it was actually my dad who taught me how to use them. Although I don't think it was until I was probably about 13 or 14 did I really start to get into the style that I use today. And I did take a really big break there for a little while, just from painting in general, because I was really passionate about riding horses for many, many years. But when I was unable to do that anymore, I returned to art, and one of the first mediums that I picked back up was watercolor, specifically watercolor and colored pencil, because I like the richness that often creates. Through and through, I will always be a mixed media artist. I love combining elements of traditional media, whether that is ink and ballpoint, or colored pencil and watercolor, or all of the above. This painting here actually has just a little bit of everything that I have mentioned in this conversation, including those specialty watercolors, which go on like an ink, which is mind-boggling, and I highly recommend trying them if you get the chance. But watercolor will literally always be my heart and soul. Well, everybody, thank you for hanging out with me today while I work on this lovely green fairy. He is now all finished and he is ready to go to his new home. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see where my creativity takes me next, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you'd like to see more. As always, my friends, stay curious, stay creative, and keep shining bright. I'll see you in the next masterpiece.